Hello, everybody, and welcome to the War Room. This one is for the exciting bantamweight matchup on this weekend's card between Sean O'Malley and Thomas Almeida. Okay, two fighters at different points in their career. You've got Sean O'Malley that's he's new to MMA. He's new to combat sports. He's kind of learning on the job. He's very creative and very fluid in his attack, and obviously his confidence is very high as well. Naturally, I think even if he was flipping burgers, he would be the best burger flipper in the world. He's got that kind of confidence. You can see that by the way he carries himself, the way he dresses. So that transferring into a freedom to fight makes him very, very dangerous and very difficult to deal with. That's why we get those clean, stinging shots, partly because he's so relaxed, but also partly because he's difficult to read for far more traditional fighters. I mean, the wins he's got. Eddie Wineland is very much a gunslinger anyway. It's a very risky style. But the guys before him, Quinones, Sukumtat, and Weir, they're all traditional type style strikers. And the problem has been the way that O'Malley moves. It's difficult to get a rhythm on because it's unlike other people's. The downside to that is that those fundamentals, those basics that you need when things start to fall apart may not be there because he's adding things as he's going. There's no basic schooling of this is boxing, this is kickboxing, this is taekwondo, this is karate. He's adding all of these things into the mix, and because MMA is so broad, I always find it's difficult to start something without a good foundation in something first, even if it's a good foundation in basic MMA. But guys like Sean O'Malley aren't going to learn basic MMA. They're going to learn spinning back fists and flying knees and Imanari rolls and stuff because that's how they are. So there's an opportunity here for someone that's in a bad spot, 3 losses in a row, to impose his game and impose his basics. So on the flip side, Thomas Almeida is a fighter I very much enjoy watching. I think he's had a real rough run, and I think that there's a lot of reasons for that. One is, he's an old shootbox guy, and they were notorious for banging heads and wearing himself down. But the actual technical ability of Thomas Almeida, he keeps a nice tight guard, and he's got nice crisp punches. They move it in all the regular patterns that you would like of a well-trained fighter, well-polished movements. He gets his head off the center line well. He chops into the legs with nice technique. That just a general good schooling of basic Muay Thai. I think the thing that's worked against him is probably how he's prepared for these fights. The notorious shootbox. They wore each other out before they got to the competition oftentimes, and that's why that filtration process being so tough, it takes a lot out of these young fighters. And there've been times in Almeida's career when he's been caught with a shot, and then all of a sudden you can see he's not quite clear. And there a lot of those shots that I felt like he's took and he's been hurt with, I feel like he would have taken better had he not ran through 1,000 hard sparring rounds in the gym before. He has taken some time out, and I did think his last fight against Martinez was a good performance. It's just Martinez was a bit ahead of him on that day, and he's a good representation. Martinez is a bit between the two. Like, he's got some traditional style. He moves well. He's got good skills, but there's also a bit of a relaxed flair to his game that's reminiscent of O'Malley. The challenge here is going to be trying to figure out how to get close to O'Malley and impose his game. I always use this same example, but Marc Antonio Barrera against Nassim Hamed. Hamed was thrashing guys because they just couldn't read him. Like, he would lunge in from weird angles and catch them and do all manner of unorthodox movement. And that was a part of the strength of his game. Was these traditional boxers, they're expecting the jab to come this direction. And when it comes this direction and they're slipping onto it, it kind of fries their brain because they're getting hit from angles that they're not used to being hit from. It's like ask next time you're with a pro fighter, or if you're a pro fighter yourself, you'll know this, or even an amateur. Like, the most difficult people to spar with are the beginners because they've got no concept of which direction their arms should move when they're throwing strikes. I mean, they've seen somebody else do it, but to have a mastery of that rhythm themselves is difficult. Now, someone that's had traditional schooling, they'll throw a jab right down the pipe. It'll be real clean and you'll see it coming. it'll be fast and it'll be polished, and they have to set it up, but you'll know the direction that it's coming from because it's predictable. In this new wave of MMA where things come from weird angles and twisting uppercuts and that kind of stuff, someone like Thomas Almeida that's got that more traditional style, he's a bit more vulnerable to those techniques. So that's what he's got to overcome in this one, is that unpredictability that O'Malley brings. O'Malley's the taller fighter, right? Let's have a look. 5'11 to 5'7. He's got a 2-inch reach advantage, so that's not massive. So if Thomas Almeida can use that Muay Thai and walk him down and keep himself safe in that early round and start really digging into that calf and those legs and work the body, work the things that is not as easy to get away from strikes. Like O'Malley's very good at moving his head, but oftentimes head movement leaves the body very much stationary. That's a target that O'Malley can work if he's thinking about multiple targets. If he can slow him down or if he can tie him up and drag him to the floor, I think the basics, this is where the grappling and the striking is a bit different. Unorthodox flair in striking doesn't always cross over to, or doesn't very regularly cross over to grappling. If you've got someone that's a good basic grappler, most of the time that is going to overwhelm any kind of flair and flamboyance, because grappling is far different. Because there's a physical connection. You can control and iron somebody out and use basics to methodically pin them to the floor and then work them into positions they don't want. It might be wise for Almeida to get this fight to the floor and start working some grappling exchanges instead, because the unorthodox nature of Sean O'Malley might work against him in that range. Okay. Thomas Almeida has no takedown average. He's got 75% takedown defense. It very much looks like he's not going to want this fight on the floor. That doesn't mean to say it's not going to end up on the floor, and that doesn't mean to say he's not going to be the one initiating it, especially if he can't get his hands on O'Malley and it's getting frustrating. He may hurt O'Malley. He may beat his legs up, buckle his legs. O'Malley may decide to start sitting to the floor. Almeida might jump on top of him there. For O'Malley, he's got a very high strike rate, which is rivaled kind of by Almeida. I mean, he's slightly ahead. Almeida at 5.39, Sean O'Malley at 6.35, slightly higher output per minute. Better striking accuracy for O'Malley. Again, he's got a very good range of management, and he's got a better defense as well. The defense is both 64%, but he gets hit with less shots, so that counts as defense as well. Takedown average. Now you are expecting a takedown every now and then from Sean O'Malley, but again, he's the mixed martial arts generation, so it's much easier to flow seamlessly from one range to the next. I wouldn't be surprised if he starts working takedowns, especially if his legs start to get beaten up. Takedown accuracy is 50%, takedown offense is 61%, and he's got an average of one submission attempt per, just over one submission attempt per 15 minutes. So there is a possibility of him attacking something. I think he's going to want to maintain this on the feet, and I think he's going to feel like Thomas Almeida coming off 3 losses, watching that last fight against Martinez. I think O'Malley's going to feel like he can cruise around the outside and pick him off until he starts to find his way inside, and then he'll look for that impressive finish. That's what O'Malley's going to want. Almeida wants a win on his record, and he'll get that however he can. He's a much more mature fighter than his age would suggest. 22-4, and you look at the people he's lost to. I mean, Garbrandt and Rivera and Font and Martinez as well, another rising prospect. They're good fighters, so we can't count Thomas Almeida out, but it definitely looks like the deck is stacked in O'Malley's favor just because of the hype behind him and the flair that he's got in his game and the confidence. We can all buy into confidence. Right. Enjoy the fights. See you next time.